So, hi, Arekpitan. So happy to have you here. Thank you for agreeing to talk on this topic today. So, Arekpitan, who's Arekpitan? We want to know. I know you, but everyone doesn't. Some people rather may not know you. So, can you just share a little bit about Arekpitan?
Okay, hi Chineye. Thank you for having me talk about nonlinear because hi Chineye. I was saying that it's a lovely thing for me to be here on your show and for me to be having this conversation with you. And I think it's important for me to say first at the beginning that I really like you and I really admire your work. And I think that what you're doing now is starting a very important conversation about career growth, career progression, and how we think our careers should go. And I think that is such an important conversation to be having right now. So kudos to you.
Thank
And
you.
yes. So when I saw the title of your book, I was thinking, have I ever heard someone else call it a nonlinear career pathway? I'm not sure. So I don't want to say you're the first person I know who has used the word, but I'm not sure. But it was just very striking when I saw that that was the title. So my name is Arekpitan. I think of myself as a troublemaker first and foremost. I feel like I like to ruffle feathers. I like to disturb. I like to provoke. I like to, expose things. And I'm a storyteller. I'm a writer. I'm a development communicator. I work as a communication consultant, and currently I'm a communication officer at a UN agency. So, and most importantly, I'm a writer. I can't believe I forgot to say that. I was going to forget to say that. Yes, I'm a writer.
Yeah. Thank you
So
so
that's
much.
me. Nothing else.
Yeah. Like I love that you said you like making trouble because you actually talk about like really important issues that people might be scared to touch, but these are things that people talk about in their little circles, just have conversations in their mind, but then they're really super important conversations that we should be having. And I'm also incredibly proud of you and your journey. And I know I say this a lot, but you also really inspire me a lot. So, right now, I just want to touch a bit about that journey from studying engineering to going into United Nations. So what was that switch for you? Like did you just hate engineering at some point and was like, you know what, maybe look for something else, or was it just what was that journey for you?
That's interesting. I think the journey started in secondary school and maybe not in university because in secondary school, you're asked, what do you want to study? Do you want to go into science or art or commercial? And then you make a choice. And I think often it's a choice made with very limited information. You don't have a lot of information. So you just make that choice. And I think one of the most important things about people navigating nonlinear careers is the fact that because you can do something doesn't mean that you should be doing it. You understand? So I was always top of my class. I studied sciences. So it was more like, oh, you know when they say you will succeed in science and then you go to science. Because you can do it doesn't necessarily mean that that's what you should be doing. So I wasn't really sure what I wanted to study. So I chose engineering. So people always ask me, did your parents force you? Did you feel like you had to go and do it? I'm like, nobody forced me. I chose it by myself. And then I went and I started studying engineering. And in the process of studying engineering, I realized that it was not something I wanted to do long term. I just knew that, nah, I don't think I want to do this. So being able to hold, so I think what was happening is that you're holding two different thoughts. I'm studying engineering. I want to pass my exams, but I don't want to do this with the rest of my life. So it's being able to navigate like 5 years of university, holding that thought and having it at the back of your head constantly. That I'm studying something that I don't want to practice at all. And then I studied petroleum engineering, so there are a lot of talks about, oh my God, you're working oil and gas, you're going to make so much money and
Yeah.
everything. Also, why I said it starts in secondary school is because I've always been very passionate about my opinions. I've always been very passionate about my ideas, about storytelling. I was a reader from secondary school. I loved books. I would take my money and go and buy novels. And then, those Snake Girl part 1 to 10, and then all those kind of ridiculous stories. I used to just,
Yeah.
so we would exchange books, me and my friends. We had this neighbor, would go and. So I've always been this person. I would debate for my school. I would go for quiz competitions. I liked to argue. I was the class captain. I liked to lead. I liked to tell people what to do. So I think my non-linear career started when I decided to just follow what I was interested in. It was the interest. So I was in my first year and I was like, I don't want to study. I don't think I want to be an engineer. So when I decided that, or when I had those thoughts, I started to think, what would I rather be? So I wasn't sure, but it started with pursuing the interest that I have, or the interest that I still have, I had then. I joined the debate club in school. So in the Christian fellowship I was in, we had an editorial unit. I at a point I became like one of the leaders of the unit. So I just started to pursue the interest that I had. I knew I don't want to do this. What would I rather be doing? So the idea was I want to put my face close to the camera because I think when I lift my face, the light reflects on my glasses. Yes. So what would I rather be doing? And I started to think about that, and then I started to follow what I would rather be doing instead.
That's beautiful. I think I relate somehow a bit to your story because, in case you all don't know, we all studied in the same school. Queen was studying petroleum, I was studying chemical, although she was like a year ahead of me. So I think in a way, I relate to Queen saying like at some points I was like, why do we have to choose between science classes and art classes? Just like you said, like in secondary school, at some point you're told, oh, you're so smart, like go to science. But I mean, people in art are smart too. Like it doesn't mean like, oh, because of you studied this, you're smarter than this. And for me, also this non-linear career, I was just thinking about why do we have to like choose one part over the other, and just seeing how one powerful thing I picked out from what you said was how you just decided to go for what you're interested in. I don't know if you experienced this too, like sometimes.
It's a very interesting question because I'm thinking now, like, have I been criticized? That's something I'm thinking about. Have I been criticized? For me, it really was. I've always been stubborn. It's why I first said I was a troublemaker. I've always been stubborn. So I've never really. I'm not someone who cares very much what people think and what people say, and I like to do things that make sense to me. You get. So what I saw is that when people ask me, "Oh, do you want to work in oil and gas?" and you say, "No, I have other plans." When you now tell them your other plans, there's this look of, really? That's the plan. You want to be a writer, or you want to go and work with NGOs. You want to go and, if it sounds so feeble. But what I started to see then was that most of the people criticizing don't even know what you want to go and do. The average person you meet on the street of maybe Badon or Were, they don't know what data science is. So you can't necessarily expect them to have an appreciation for what you want to do. You get. The people now people say, what is development communication? In this, what is that? So I don't expect people that don't know what something is to appreciate it. But I think that first things first is the fact that I've always been my own person. I don't know if it's coming from reading books or just being stubborn or being outspoken or being very vocal. I've always been my own person. So I think on some level that I did not really care. And then secondly, I think that I had seen that what I wanted to do works. You understand? I'd seen that what I wanted to do works. I'd seen people who had gone ahead of me who had done those things. They did not necessarily have non-linear careers, but they had very good careers. They were successful, everything. So I had evidence that this is a very good life. You see the way Nigerian parents now, when you tell them you want to be a musician, they're not as critical as they would have been 40 years ago. Because they have Davido now, they have Whiskey. So that may not be their plan for you, but they've become more tolerant. So people say, oh, can you feed yourself on this? I had evidence of people that had done that thing and who were very successful at it. So I think that was, I had seen it work. So that some people said it wasn't going to work and everything. And then I knew the downside of the career that they're choosing for me. So if you say go and work in oil and gas, where are the jobs? If you say, you understand, this is a sector that is ridden with nepotism and a lot of things, and we know Nigeria is not such a meritocratic society. So it's but I felt like this thing is mine. It's something like it's mine. I can hold it. I can channel it. I can do whatever I want to do with it. I can nurture it by myself. I don't have to depend on a system. I don't need to have a godfather. I don't need to know anybody. I can just go and do it. Yeah. So when people criticize, mostly it was just the shock, the condescension. It happened. Showing I was doing my industrial training in an oil servicing firm, and I would talk to people about what my future plans were. You just see this condescension. Then during NYSC, are you sure? But it wasn't from a place of the people being terrible. I think it was from a place of ignorance. People not necessarily knowing what you're all about or knowing the path you want to take. So it's why I tell people, and women especially, is that you need to have your own mind. You need to have a mind of your own. You don't need to care about standing alone. You don't have to care about being liked, being approved, being validated at every single turn. Don't be afraid to go for what you want. Don't be afraid to do what interests you. Don't be afraid to be, consistent, basically, and just be your own person.
Speaking about being consistent, I would say that you're one of the most consistent person I know. Just seeing the way you've been able to navigate your journey from one pivot to another, just consistently showing up and putting yourself out there is so inspiring for me.
Who gave me this award? Who gave me this award? Why deserve this award?
I love that you talked about following your interest even when you didn't have a name for it, even when it seems like you didn't have a lot of role models in that field. So my question to you, Arekpitan, is what is that thing that made you keep building, keep pushing your interest, even when you didn't have a clear name for it? And also, what gave you the boldness to just reach out to people? Because sometimes it can feel so scary to reach out to people and just pitch yourself to them. So what can you advise someone that wants to take that bold step, that is lacking a little bit of audacity to pursue their interest? How can they navigate that journey?
That's a lot of questions. So, like so many questions. I hope I remember all of them. I think we should go back to interest. So I think, and this is a very unpopular opinion, which you may not agree with, but I think that even non-linear careers are linear. That is that's what I think. I think that what makes them non-linear is maybe the process, the navigation. But when you look back at what you've done, I feel like there is usually a connecting thread between all those many interests. So when I decided I did not want to do engineering, I started to pursue my interest. And my interest is writing. I started to write because I love to write. And most writers read a lot. I mean, I don't think it's possible for you to write without reading. So I was always reading. And because I have opinions, I was always arguing about social issues. Oh, this, oh, that. I really care about social issues. And I think that my care for people, for planet, for community, for society is is amplified and refurbished by my reading appetite. When you read a lot, you sort of feel like you begin to understand the world more. You begin to say, oh, that's why this happened. Oh, that's how this came to be. And then you start to have opinions. And when you have opinions, the opinions have to come out. It has to leave your throat. So it's either you write those opinions or you say those opinions. So, and then I'm very observant. I observe a lot. So I was always writing. And then I joined a debate club in Futo. So I think we had meetings once or twice a week. We'd go and argue about abortions, argue about religion, argue about electoral processes. We argued about so many things. So I became this vocal person. People knew had opinion on things. And of course, I read, I write. I care a lot about youth empowerment. I care a lot about environmental activism. I care about gender. I really care about gender. I deeply care about gender. I care about advocacy. I care about fairness, about equality and justice and all those things. So because I like I said, it's a pursuing of interest. It's not I wasn't necessarily looking for a non-linear career. I was not interested in what I was doing. So I was just doing the things I was, interested in. So I would watch documentaries. I would spend the whole week watching BBC documentaries. I would spend the whole week watching CNN voices, CNN this and all of that. And so one day I was just watching a documentary, and it's a documentary about the Niger Delta, the oil pollution, everything happening there. And I loved the documentary. And I wrote to the journalist and I said, hi, I like your documentary. I have some questions about how you did something like this. And this is the kind of thing I want to be doing. I want to be telling those kind of provoking stories. That's what I told him. Like, I wasn't thinking about it then in that sense. I was like, I want to tell this kind of stories. Because the documentary really resonated with me. It resonated so much that I went to write something based on the documentary, basically. So meanwhile, while I was doing all this watching documentaries and debate club vice president thing and editorial fellowship unit thing, I had a writers community. I was in a school of engineering, and I felt like, no, there have to be people in this school who don't like the engineering they're studying, or who even if they do like engineering, who are interested in literature. So I formed the writers community because I wanted to sustain my interest. Basically, at this point, it's just the interest. I'm interested in this. I'm just talking. I was doing it for free. I was happy to do it. So I used to have writers events on campus, talk about writing, we'd read books, we have a book club, we argue, peer review of each other's work, all of those things. So I wrote to this journalist and he responded. And then we began this email correspondence that lasted like 3 years, just talking. He would share me, I would go and read other things he had done, I would go and look at other things he had done. And so that was just the story, basically. So then I now decided I'm going to be a journalist. And I was still I think I was in year 3. Then so basically it was not, I want to be a journalist. It was, I like what this person has done. I think I want to do something like this. This thing is amazing. So I think for people watching this, they should pay attention to the things that they like. When you go on social media, when you go on YouTube, when you go on Instagram, when you go on, you go to your Google search bar. What resonates with you? Why do you like it? So you pay attention to the things that you like. It may be a sign of where you should be heading. And pay attention to the things that you don't like. Oh, like I would see some things and I would be so angry. Who did this thing? Why did you do it like this? This is it. Do you understand? So I think things that give you this very extreme emotion, extreme happiness, extreme distress, extreme all those things, it's good to pay attention to those things. So I started talking to a journalist and I decided then I was going to be a journalist. Then during COVID, we worked together. I'm not joking. During COVID, we worked together. So I had like my first taste of journalism. We go to the streets, interview people. Excuse me, sir, I want to talk to you, blah, blah, blah. And it was a great experience. I learned a lot. And I realized I don't like chasing people for stories. Oh, I know I said I want to do. But when you see a news article or you see a documentary, a lot of background work has gone behind that to get people to want to talk, to get people to feel vulnerable to share their story with you, to get them to agree, to give informed consent, to be recorded, all those things. It was a lot of drama. So I was like, do I really want to do this? hmm, do I really want to do this? So I wasn't really sure. And meanwhile, at that point, I had a lecturer who had an NGO on something against domestic violence. So she was like, "Oh, I heard that you write and you have a writers community, and I heard that you write on Facebook and you have some followers." At this point, I had this. There was this comedy blog where I used to write weekly story series. So basically, this is just me enjoying myself. I don't have strength. Yeah, and my lecturer came to me and said she had a foundation working with rural women who are experiencing domestic violence. Now, remember that I care. I don't like rubbish. So I was so angry. No, I started social, like she wants someone to do social media stuff for her. And I think that was my first social media gig. So I would write like content, captions, showing the work that she was doing. At that time, I did not know what I was doing with development comms. I did not have the word, I did not have the language or anything. So I was just like, they're abusing women somewhere, I don't like it. And that was it. Meanwhile, I'm talking to somebody and saying I want to be a journalist. And of course, you see, the interest here is about being vocal, it's about interest in social issues. That is what the journalism career had in in connection to the social media content creator career. It looks very different, but that's why I said even non-linear careers are very linear. Because at the end of the day, what's connecting them together? It's the fact that you can talk, you read, you write, you're aware of these issues, and you don't like them. Basically, that was it. So I was doing journalism, and I was realizing that I did not like pursuing the story in that sense. You understand? I did not really enjoy that process. So anyway, I decided that okay, let's see people who are doing work that I really enjoy. So I found a couple of organizations doing very interesting things that I felt were important. You understand? So at this point, I'd taken a Google course on digital marketing because I was helping someone manage social media. I'd gotten a content creator. I'd gotten other content gigs because I can write. So can you write social media captions for me? Can you help me create a content plan? So I was like, this is a thing to do, and I took a couple of courses, Udemy, Coursera. I took one on Google Digital Skills for Africa. I think it was about content marketing, how to promote a business or an initiative online and stuff like that. So yeah, that was it. So then after school, I was like, okay, I need a job. So I found companies that were doing things that interest me. Back to things I'm interested in, because the main factor here was that I did not like what I was studying. It did not interest me. So I found a couple of companies. I think Amnesty International was one of Amnesty Nigeria, I think. I found a couple of other companies and I wrote to them, "Hi, my name is this. I studied this. These are the skills I have. I want to work for you. I'm looking for an internship. I just finished school. I want to, soft launch and everything." And I got one response, one yes. Out of every other person that I messaged, I got one yes. That year was great. And the company was working on changing stereotypical narratives about Africa, changing a lot of things. So it was such a good learning curve. And just from there, doing that, I think I'm probably missing out a lot of things in this story because it's just a very brief summary. Yeah, I think by then I had applied to Yaga Africa. They had this female writers program they did where they were looking for writers to report on stories of female of Nigerian women who contested for elections in 2019. So they were like, these are very underrepresented stories. We need to be talking about these stories. So I was like, yeah, I applied and I got in, and I traveled to Ebonyi to interview somebody who was the ward, the representative of our ward, and just So these are stories that interest me: how people live in society, how people navigate injustice, how people navigate discrimination, how people survive oppression. So that is basically the whole thing. So it was this interest and everything that got me into what we now call development communications, advocacy, this one, that one. But then that was not the language I would use to think about it. So while doing all of this, I kept applying for things. If I see an opportunity that looks aligned to me, writing fellowships, leadership boot camps, I would apply. At a point, I started to go to webinars everywhere. I attend webinars. I would go for physical conferences, just a chance to meet, to talk to people, everything. And I think what really helps me is that I like to, consider myself a person who is practicing courage. People say, "Oh, you're so courageous." No, I'm not courageous. I practice courage. The more courage, when you practice courage, your courage grows. It continues to grow, and before you know it, you sort of like people now tell you that you're courageous. I write to people I like, whose work I like. If I need advice, I ask them for advice. If I need recommendations, I ask them. The point is, oh, this is an amazing resource. You can check this out. Oh, you can. So I don't keep silent and assume that somebody's just going to come and offer me something that, I keep applying. I keep so all this is happening. I'm applying for things and everything. And then there was this call for application for a UN consultant, which you tagged me to, like, hey, Arekpitan, look at this amazing opportunity. So big shout out to Chineye. She's such a girl's girl. She's always doing the the really nice things. And so I did that, and I got the consultancy, and then that sort of like brought me into the UN space, and I began to consult. And last year, no, this year is not yet ended. Yeah, this year there was a vacancy. So this year there was a vacancy. I applied and I got a position. Yeah, and even before that, I think just writing and putting my name out there. So I think a lot of people knew I was a writer because I was always writing. I was always ranting about something. I published a couple of opinion pieces. If you check my opinion pieces, they're about gender, they're about youth empowerment, they're about women, they're about the black woman's body and things like that. So it was just me, putting myself out there. I was writing, I was being visible, I was visiting people. I said visiting, I was going to conferences, I was talking, I was engaging with the ecosystem. I think one thing that also helps is to have some couple of credentials to show, especially when you make a career pivot. If you're in engineering and you go and say you're a comms person, where are the comms that, where's the comms that you've done? So you need to have like evidence of what you've done. So it doesn't have to be such big evidence. So you can put yourself out there, try and write, have proof that you're doing what you see you're doing. You understand? I've worked on that you can show. Volunteer, do whatever you have to do. To go and take courses and have certifications in those things. So look, I didn't study this, but see, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. I've been certified, credible by this body, by that body. You get? So I think it was 2 years ago I decided I needed to have an advanced degree. Since I didn't study comms, let me go and find something related to the things that I'm passionate about. So I did a master's in the management of development, basically because I do development comms. So I felt like it was important for me to understand development from a multidisciplinary perspective. Yeah, so that really helped. The masters opened my eyes. I'm like, oh, this is this, oh, this is this. I am always learning. So when people say, oh, you have this knowledge, you're putting it out there, I agree. I think I should be putting my knowledge out there like you are doing. But at the same time, because I have made a pivot, I am aware of my knowledge gaps more than other people who did not pivot. So when you make that kind of pivot, when you spent 2 years doing engineering maths, then you went to do thermodynamics, strength of materials, and you did stuff on reservoir engineering, drilling. So yeah, I think mostly is that I am aware of the knowledge gaps that I have, and I'm aware of, oh, I need to know more about this. So I don't just go and, hey, I'm an expert in this. I try my best to gather as much knowledge as I can. Of course, there's no end to gathering knowledge. So you don't want to wait and see until I have excess knowledge before I do what I'm meant to do, because it will never be enough. But knowledge gives you confidence. It gives you perspective. It gives you strategy. What should I be doing? So I'm very interested in climate justice, in us fixing the climate problem. I do a lot of reading on it. I joined a network, a community, so I could be aware of the issues. I care so much about comms. I read books on comms a lot. There are a lot of newsletters I've subscribed to. Sometimes I open my email box. I'm like, oh my God, when am I going to read all these things? Even the podcasts I listen to are just things around those interests. So the more you know, the more you have some kind of direction about, oh, this is what I should be doing. So I've been a copywriter. To be honest, I've been a copywriter, I've been a ghostwriter, I've been a social media manager, I've been a social media content creator, I've worked as a journalist, I've done development comms, I've done writing internships. But basically, it's around, just using my voice and my ideas to make the world a better place. So it's a non-linear career, but everything just sort of like, going towards one thing. Yes. So yeah, I think it just helps. You asked something about advice to sort of like stay consistent, and I would say that it helps to really really be interested in what you're doing. The interest propels you. The interest keeps you going. That's why you need to like it. You need to love it. That you can do it doesn't mean you should be doing it. Do you love it? Can you see yourself doing this full time? Can you see yourself doing this for the rest of your life? But most importantly, do you feel fulfilled? All the jobs I've had, all the jobs I've done, I feel like it has made the world a better place. In a very, maybe in a very small, tiny way, but it's my way of contributing, my way of trying to change the status quo, trying to alter the landscape to make the world more livable for people. So if there are female politicians who have gone through the Nigerian electoral system and survived, we need to talk to those people, even those who did not make it. What is your story? So that the next, when we're talking about, we need more female representation in politics, the women who are coming into the political space now, they can read these stories and say, oh, this is what this person went through. These are the lessons I can pick from it. So for me, that was very important. And it's also very important to surround yourself with people who are also making some kind of pivot, or people who understand, who are interested in what you're interested in. That's why I think that's why I did the writers community, because there was a sense of isolation, and I felt, no, I need a community of people who want to write, who want to tell stories, who want to do these kinds of things. So I think that really really helped. And my best friend, she also studied petroleum engineering, but right now she works as an illustrator. She's drawing cartoon characters. She does a lot of, comic characters and everything. So basically, I am with people who have all made some kind of pivots. Oh, I make a pivot here, I make a pivot there. People like you too, who are also making that pivot. I also think it's important to really, really believe in your vision. So when I was making this pivot, tech was a hot topic. From 2016, the Nigerian innovation landscape has always been about tech. Well, you need to be a software person. You need to be in tech. 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 Everybody wanted to start coding. Everybody was like, I think it was, I don't know if it's just me, but it was really crazy. Everybody was coding, buying laptops, talking about Java. Everywhere I went to, Java, HTML, C++, this one, back end, front end. I was confused. So I fell for that trap because I went and started coding. I'm not going to lie. A lot of people don't know this about me, but I went and started coding, but it was for a very short period of time, very, very short. I had the coding apps on my phone, so I would be coding small, and be learning, because I felt like this thing I'm interested in, there's probably no future in it, but that's not true. So what happens with young people now is that we are after the next shiny thing. Right now, data is hot. Data right now is the hottest cake on the planet. So even those who are not interested in data visualization, data analytics, data feminism, everybody is in data now, because that's what is trendy. AI, everybody, hey God, learning language model, generative AI, this one AI, all the AIs, everybody's an AI software developer, AI this, AI that. So at some point I left and I came back. I said, no, this is not for me. I think the world will always need storytellers. The world will always need activists. The world will always need writers. The world will always need people who are working with NGOs to create the impact they're trying to create. We will always need journalists, people who are going to bring the stories home. So you need to see, yes, I think it's important to align with what's happening around you. To think about how does the current trend, how does this affect the thing I'm working on? How does this affect my interest? Oh, AI is in vogue, how does that affect what I want to do? I think it's important to have that conversation, to think about it. What does AI change for writers? What does AI change for lawyers? I think it's necessary, but doesn't necessarily mean that you have to pivot, because, I don't think, people tell me, in the next 50 years, we will not need blah, blah, blah. But that's not necessarily true. I think even when you focus on your careers, the career may transform. It's very possible the career transforms, but it doesn't necessarily mean the career becomes non-existent. If you pay attention to the trends and everything and what's happening, as you try to sort of like, so I say, imbibe that into what you do, your career changes or the way you work changes. But at the base, it's still the same thing. Anyway, that's what I think.
I really love what you said about non-linear careers. It's almost as if you picked my brain because that's exactly what I wanted to write in my post later this week. And it was just this analogy of non-linear careers, both from the concept of a building. So let's take, for instance, you're building your beautiful home and you have to make different rooms, different colors. The flooring has to be a little bit different. The doors have to be different textures and colors. You don't say, oh, these are different homes. You actually say, this is my beautiful home. So in a way, non-linear careers are not consistent in the way that traditional career paths are consistent, but they are consistent in their own way, connecting it to a single, will I say, tasks or units. In this analogy, we have a home. For someone else, it could be, oh, I'm really passionate about climate stories, using storytelling to advocate for climate issues. For someone else, it could be, I'm really passionate about using technology to help people earn money. So it could just be anything at all. And it's just very, very important to find that one thing that all your careers, every skill set connects to. Thank you so much, Arekpitan, for the time, for all the insights. Honestly, these are insights that people pay a lot of money for. So I'm really grateful that you were able to share this on my platform. One last question before you go. If there's one advice you're going to give people that want to navigate the same journey you've had or are facing a pivot in their career or studied engineering like you and want to work in the United Nations, what is that one advice that looking back at your journey that helped you and that you feel that can also help other people?
That's very interesting. I have so many advice to give. There are so many things I could say right now. Um, I think it's very. I think my journey has been very instinctive. Like it's just me following my instincts or what my intuition tells me to do. I didn't. I try not to overthink things. So when I founded my writers community, it was very, hey Queen, do you know any writers? I'm like, I know a few. Let me connect them together. In fact, it was a friend that gave me the name on the way to class. I should call it I Write Community. That was it, and I went and opened WhatsApp group and added people to the group. I didn't overthink it. I didn't start. Oh, is it right? Is it not right? When I made a decision not to pursue a career in fossil fuels as someone who cares about the environment, when I made that decision, it was very instinctive. It just came to me. It just felt right. If in the region I come from, everywhere is polluted with oil and gas, and people are dying and people are sick and dying at 44, why do I have to join that system? Yeah, even if it's a rich paying system, why do I have to be a part of that? I'm not saying that it's terrible, everybody that is there. No, you understand? But I just felt like, and I don't even enjoy it. I'm not passionate about it. I don't, I just felt, nah, I won't do this. And of course, people came and tried to talk me out of it. I just feel like you need to hold, you know, your opinions. You need to value your own ideas of what you think is right for you. I'm not saying be somebody that nobody can advise, nobody can alter your whatever decision you've made. But I think there are things you need to be stubborn about. Be stubborn about the vision you have for yourself. Be stubborn about the life you're trying to build, about your ideas of how those very small things. Those not necessarily small, but things like that. I think that helps a lot. When I want to message people, I don't think, oh, what if they don't reply? What if they don't, I don't think about that. I also think it's important for people to know who you are, what you do. So I think it's important for you to show your work, show the workings, show your work. But at a point, people asked me, oh, where do you get your writing jobs from? At that time, I was freelancing 247. And I realized I'd never gone on Upwork to look for work. I'd never gone on, Fiverr. All the writing jobs I got were people that said, I heard you write, can you write this for me? Oh, my brother is looking for a writer. Oh, my boss is looking for a writer. Oh, it was just referrals. So people will refer you for things, they will send opportunities to you, they will recommend you if they don't know that this is something you do and that you do it well. So I think it's very important for you to try to strive for excellence in the work that you do. So if you're a writer, you want to be a good one. If you're, I used to tell my friends very jokingly that I may not be able to solve the problems of the world, but I can write. I don't know about the other things that is going on in the world, but you see, this one thing, I do it really well, if I say so myself. So I think it's very important for people to show your work. Don't hide it. That thing you think you do so well, that thing you want to do, talk about it, show it, keep, let people know this is what you want to do. Be public, put yourself out there. If you've done something, if you're experimenting with something, you can post about it on LinkedIn. It doesn't have to be perfect. You understand? So this way you get feedback. You want to be in this kind of iterative loop where you get feedback and you take that feedback and you used to refine what you're doing and you go back and make another one, you get another feedback. I would write things on Facebook and people would say, oh, I like this part, I didn't understand this part, and so I think that's very important. It's very important to show your work. It's very important to keep showing your work. You understand? Keep showing your work. I also think that it's very important to dream. I don't think that anybody will expect me to say that, but you want to get into the UN, you want to go and do this, you want to go and do that. You need to dream that you're the kind of person who belongs in that kind of space. That this space is made for people like you. That you can be this. You understand? And then don't believe everything that you're told. Or people said that, but they said, no. It's not that. So when I did my master's, people were like, how are you able to do a master's in development? I thought you studied engineering. I thought when you study engineering, you can only do masters in engineering. How did you get that information, sir? Who told you that? Maybe they told you in nursery too. You didn't go and Google and check and say, oh, is this true? I've applied for a master's in communication, in media, and I've gotten admissions to do those masters, even though my background was not originally in that. All you need is to have a compelling story and show that, oh, this is really what I want to study. So I don't think, so you just have some very closed off idea of how you think the world works, and you don't interrogate that idea, you don't question it, you just run with it because somebody said, you get, and all that. I think, that's very important. I also think lastly, that is very, very important not to feel tied. Not to feel like you have to be a slave to the decisions that you've made. Is very important. Sometimes I think if I'd known my life would go this way, would I have dropped out in year 1? I still don't know the answer, but I think maybe yes. What was stopping me? Oh, I'm studying the wrong course. Why not go and apply for another course? So, I've already written the JAMB. How will I now go back and say that I don't want to study this again? A lot of women, especially, we make the wrong decision and then we feel like, no, everybody will now say after all your gra. You understand? So you start studying medicine. They will now say that I left medicine to go and do theater arts. No, or maybe after how much I've spent. You get? So I feel like at every point where you're on the wrong journey, when you're on that wrong trajectory, the moment you realize this is the wrong direction, pivot. That is my theory. Don't feel like you have to stay there. So if today I started a multi-level marketing business, I started it, and I was like, okay, I want to do it and make money. I thought when I was joining, they were telling me most people that join they fail. I was like, no, I won't fail. That most people that join they drop out after a few months. I was like, I won't drop out. After a few months, I realized that, oh no, this is not for me. But I didn't feel like I should come and save face because I'm going to say I will not drop out. Oh my, I dropped out too. I realized this is not for me. So if you start something and it's not working, now I'm not saying you should give up on everything. No. There have been tough times. I would even call my best friend and say, are you sure that we should not have studied this oil and gas? Because we had friends that were working in some of these companies back in Nigeria and they were doing so well. They had bought cars and they were balling. They felt like they had their lives together. So I would call her and say, guy, are you sure that we should not have studied this engineering? I mean, maybe our former, youthful selves when we were teenagers, maybe we were more right than now, because there were moments of self-doubt. I'm not going to come and tell you that, oh, it was all shiny. Even now, when most people think I'm in a place where I should be very settled in my career, I still have questions. Do I really want to, we are human beings. So, but the moment, so I'm not saying give up. Oh, once things get hard, run away. But there's a difference between you gave up on a dream and you give up and you changed from something that you felt is not right for you. So don't feel like you have to stay there. Or I've spent so many years building this thing. If it's not for you, it's no longer working. If your dreams have expanded, if your ideas have changed, feel free to change your mind. Feel free to change your mind. I think I said I wanted to be a journalist. I had messaged a renowned journalist. He had connected me to other journalists. But I didn't say, no, after I've disturbed these people, and I tell them I don't want to do journalist again. They will not say, I explained to them that I need, and they understood. Maybe in the next 20 years, I'll go back to being a journalist because I took this recent CNN course and I enjoyed it so much. And it's on journalism. I'm like, could this still be my future self? So I'm not saying, never say never, but at that point, it just didn't feel right anymore. And I said, okay, fine, this doesn't feel right for me and all that. And then you asked me a question that I think I'm just remembering now about how I think all these skills have contributed to what I currently do. That's a very interesting question. I think it makes you an interesting person, generally. So when I tell people now that I studied engineering, there's this shock. So I just enjoy it so much. It seems very flimsy. It's not doing anything, but it makes you feel like a more interesting person. So that, more interesting than you would have been if you were not studying that. So I think that was very chill, at least on my end of things. And that you bring all these unique perspectives from these different roles, from these different hats that you've worn. As a content creator, as a social media person, as a project assistant, as a writer, as a reporter, as a researcher, as a this, as a that, you just sort of like take all of that. And all of this is just giving you a very well-rounded, balanced perspective. So lastly, I would say you bring all of yourself to the table. You bring all of yourself to the table, the experiences you've had, the schools you went to, the people you've talked to, where you grew up, where you lived. They are material for the life that you're trying to build. So it's not a part of you that you lock and say, this is not relevant. This doesn't help. This is not helping anybody. So you take all of that and you bring it to the table. The analytical skills you learn, the technical competencies, you just bring that. All that just shapes your worldview. So that's the end of my TED Talk.
If you found this video useful, you can check out this video where I talk about non-linear careers and certain insights that can help you navigate that journey. So if you're someone with multiple interests, someone that wants to pivot, I share tips that have helped me in my journey and can help you too. Also, I recently launched the Non-Linear Career Workbook for professionals who do not want to be defined by a single career path, for career pivoters, for professionals with multiple skills and interests, to help them gain clarity and confidence to either build a career for themselves or get high value clients. So it's currently available for pre-order and will be officially launched on December 15th, 2025. I'm going to link it in the description below so that you can pre-order, and I'm going to be giving out 5 slots to get 50% off. So if you type the coupon code NLW2025, you're going to get a 50% discount. So do also order. It's not just going to be the workbook. I'm going to be guiding you through videos. You're going to be able to join a community of similar-minded people, because sometimes in a world that was made for only traditional career paths, it can feel very isolating trying to navigate that journey on your own, the confusion, the self-doubt, the uncertainty. And so that's what this workbook is going to give you. It's going to give you clarity, it's going to give you framework, and we're also going to create an amazing community through the workbook. So looking forward to connecting with each and every one of us and seeing all the reviews after the official launch. If you love this video, do well to like, do well to subscribe to my channel, and I'm going to see you in the next video.